The first line of the first reading struck me today. As your fellow workers, we appeal to you, do not receive the grace of God in vain. Do not receive the grace of God in vain. For he says, in an acceptable time I've heard you, and on the day of salvation I helped you. Behold, now is the very acceptable time. Behold, now is the day of salvation. And I think about how often God, He's constantly pouring out His grace. That is His life, His love, His relationship with Him. He's calling us into this intimate embrace of His love. And too often we treat it like a diet. We'll start tomorrow, right? That, he wants me to be holy. He wants me to be close to Him. He wants me to... I don't have time right now. I'll deal with that tomorrow or next week or when I'm retired. And those of you who are retired, you know how much time you have. That we look and we say, we can very often push off God's grace. He's poured it out into our lives through sacraments of baptism and confirmation, through the Eucharist, and so many other ways in our lives. And yet, instead of embracing that fully, what do? We try to run our lives in other ways, and we don't accept His grace. Let's take this opportunity today maybe to reflect on what are the areas where God is inviting me into deeper relationship. What are the things I need to break free from so that I can grow in that relationship? And what are the excuses that I'm making that say, well, I'll deal with this tomorrow or next week or later, or, that's too hard, or whatever it may be. What are the excuses we make that we refuse or reject the fullness of God's grace in our lives?